Poradaw in Boboverved, Ruan Irui, Chris Ving now in Snag, now in English. Good morning, my strange people. How's your day been? Uh, I'm Ron, and welcome to this. Okay, so tonight I was planning to work on this sweater style jacket a little bit more. Maybe read from just like simple 1, 2, 4 card readings from one of my favorite decks, which no, not this one, but I do want it funny. Kitty cats. Where'd the other one go? The one I just over there. Because I'm a highly organized person. So, maybe this one, the Amenti Oracle. I love this one. I usually give myself a daily 1 card with that, and this one was stolen from me back in December. It's the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. A friend kindly was able to replace it for me, and I loved that one. It's I used to read from that one all the time. So we've got 1 viewer on Twitch. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, comment, join the chat. So while I'm working on this lovely sweater that I got the pattern from Morale Fiber on Ravelry, and she does a lot of gorgeous things. She's also on Etsy and Ko-Fi and got a blog, but I prefer to when I can, I do prefer to buy via Ravelry, just because like that way it's automatically added to my Ravelry library. And their library is lacking. I've got a lot of vintage patterns, a lot of broomstick and hairpin patterns that I want to add to their archive of stuff. Just like the the pattern directory they've got on there. So so yeah, I was gonna work on this some more, maybe read from some cards, and when we've got a couple more people in chat, I'm hoping to get at least 5 concurrent like 5 people watching before I start reading from the thing that I love, and that's going to be what I planned for today. This website that I'm hoping to read from today is it. The guy who wrote it showed up in the guy who wrote this showed up in a couple of the Hellenic pagan email lists that I was on back in the day. Like, oh god, about almost 20 years ago now. God damn, that was before a lot of stuff. But yeah, like going on 20 years ago, he showed up in a couple of the Hellenic pagan email lists I was on at the time, and was absolutely serious. So unless he's somebody who's really committed to a bit, this is not a satirical website. This guy is absolutely serious about this, and um, and it's one of those things where you just have to kind of see it to believe it, like Timecube. Like I'm so glad that archive dot like the digital archive and stuff have like um, archived versions of Timecube up, because that is something that has to be seen to be believed. Oh, hey, we've got somebody else in the audience. We've got one person on YouTube, one person on Twitch, and I want to have a minimum of 5 people in audience before I start reading from this. But I am going to let's see. Let me please tell me that um did my Winamp download? Yes, it did. Okay, sweet. This is probably going to yes. This might oh, that's right. Okay. Winamp, yes, next, agree, next, next, sure, all right. Okay, so I'm done with this, and I'll mess around with that later. And yeah, here's a good one that I can, here's a good tab that I can sacrifice. So yeah, there's this website that the guy who started it ended up in a few of the Hellenic pagan email lists that I was on back in the day, and yes, okay. I don't know why it took me goddamn forever to reinstall Winamp on my computer. Yes, I still use Winamp because I'm old. That's why. Wait. Um, 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 um. Okay, let me just hit cancel right now. Is this no? All right. So yeah, there's this website, and like I said, the guy is absolutely serious, as best as I can tell, unless he's just truly committed to the bit. Unless he is so committed to the bit that he was able to convince everybody on 3 different email lists, 3 different Hellenic pagan email lists, that he was serious. Unless he's that committed to this, to the bit, to the trolling bit, this guy is absolutely serious. And I've seen people refer to it when I've showed it to them as like Pagan Timecube, and I've got a story about Timecube myself, and that story is so the first time I saw Timecube.com was when I was with Best X. This would have been around year 2000, maybe that summer, maybe 20 maybe very early 2001, right? Okay, and I want to go to those 121 through 159. Okay. So so yeah, I was with Best X, and this was like over 20 years ago. God damn, when did my life turn into over 2 decades ago, right? But yeah, so the first time I saw it was through, the urging of Best X. He's just like, you've got to see this, just because there's a bunch of crazy people in your family. Because like, one of my sisters, like nothing that came out of, like nothing that my dad helped make, as far as offspring goes, turned out normal. Like all three of us are somehow neurodivergent. Like my his eldest had schizoaffective disorder. His youngest was autistic with some other kind of delusional disorder. Um, she she thought a little bit too clearly. Um, like she was closer to Chris Chan than Daniel Larson, right? Um, whereas like my older sister on my dad's side, um, her thoughts could be as disjointed as Daniel Larson's, but she was clearly of fairly high, IQ if you put any stock into that. I had the Stanford Binet children's test when I was like 5 or 6, and my mother would boast to anybody that I had a 157 IQ. I remember it was mostly logic puzzles, so it's like, I think, um, at least the children's test, at least as far as I can remember, I think people come down a little bit too harsh on it because, um, at least the yeah, at least the adult test. Like I can understand the adult test being skewed um toward the dominant Western cultures, but logic puzzles, I don't know. I'd have to look more into developmental abilities, in children, because, like I said, like the children's test, I remember being mostly logic puzzles, um, because it's made for kids as young as 4. Like most kids, even highly intelligent kids, aren't reading at that age. So yeah, like when I say it was like mostly logic puzzles that I remember, then but whatever. Okay. And but yeah, like my dad's eldest um was probably pretty close to me as far as like, like an IQ score would go. But she had a lot of very disjointed thoughts. And so basically, like I grew up um learning how to decipher um, schizophrenic logic because well, a friend of mine also has schizoaffective disorder, and she describes it as think part bipolar disorder, part schizophrenia. And it's one of those mental conditions that's a lot more stigmatized than I think it really deserves to be. Like, yes, there are some people like, it's a spectrum, much like ASD and ADHD, which is my neurodivergent deal. Oh my god, my dad got one of each. Oh, my dad got one of each. Uh, hit a tic-tac-toe with that, or bingo or whatever with that, right? But but so so yeah, like I said, I grew up learning how to decipher schizophrenic logic a lot of times. Like if you want to think of like um bipolar on one end of a spectrum and schizophrenia on another end, um like I would put Daniel Larson probably hereabouts, right? Like he seems a bit more schizophrenic um than bipolar, though like the way his mood can swing, he's definitely got some strong bipolar symptoms. I'd put my sister maybe hereabouts on that, so like pretty close to in the middle. And but still, like sometimes, especially when she'd have her manic episodes, which would sometimes even like come out while on medications. That's kind of how she died, but I don't want to get into that. But yeah, so like I grew up like learning how to decipher schizophrenic logic a lot more than most other people, I imagine. So, it's just like trying to figure out the like trying to make sense of stuff that makes no sense to most other people, right? And so yeah, like Best X was just like you've got to at least see Time Cube and read at least the first couple of paragraphs because this guy is just something else. And this was before people knew much about Time Cube. Why did that turn? Whatever. Okay, so this was before most people knew about Time Cube. Let me uh um so the no, oh my god, what the hell? Okay, Time Cube Wikipedia. Okay, well, I mean, let's like first just like take a quick look at the overview of Time Cube on Wikipedia. Just in case any familiar, because I am comparing this this Genes of Isis guy to Time Cube. But yeah, so let's see. Time Cube was a pseudoscientific personal web page set up in 1997 by the self-proclaimed wisest man on Earth, Otis Eugene Jean Ray. It was a self-published outlet for Ray's theory of everything, also called Time Cube, which polemically claims that all modern sciences are participating in a worldwide conspiracy. A conspiracy theory is an explanation for an. I like what the developers have done with this. This is neat. It avoids the need to go to every little web page that's linked. This is fun. And it can also phrenology is the is the um 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 main image on the pseudoscience page. Yeah. Worldwide conspiracy to teach lies by omitting his theory's alleged truth that each day actually consists of 4 days occurring simultaneously. For Don't call them crackpots. PC Magazine, archived from the original. Oh my gosh. Alongside these statements, Ray described himself as a godlike being with superior intelligence who has absolute evidence and proof uh, for his views. Ray asserted repeatedly and variously that the academic world had not taken Time Cube seriously. The website registration expired August 2015. Okay, so yeah, Time Cube was a website that has been archived a number of places, and like I said, Best X is the one that I that I credit for introducing me to the wonders of Time Cube, and it sure is something. Uh, hell, oh my gosh, somebody did a Time Cube mix, and it plays automatically. It's on SoundCloud. All right, that's fun. Can I pause this? I was not expecting this. Please stop. Look you. All right. All right. I'm gonna go to something that does not have embedded music that automatically plays, which I cannot pause. Okay, know your meme. Rational Wiki. What the fuck is Timecube website trying to say? I love this. Okay. You know what? All right. Wikipedia's got to have an archived version linked. Okay, so this is okay. Website archived by Wayback Machine, May 6, 2015. And we've got an interview with Jean Ray. So, the first time I saw Timecube, I sat and read it for 5 hours, maybe closer to 5.5. Like, Best X came back into the bedroom several hours later and asked me what I was reading, and I said, I'm still reading Timecube. And he said, still? That was at noon. It's almost dinner time now. And I'm like, it's starting to make, and I tell him, it's starting to make a little bit sense. Like, I think I know what he's talking about. And so Best X was like, oh, no. You're being sucked in by the brain worms. I've got to take you out to get something to eat. This is bad for your mental health. I assure you, you don't need to be reading this long. This is insane. Why are you reading this? I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, like, as you can see, I have a, let's close up the toolbar. It's a little distracting. So as you can see, like, I kind of like have a fascination with, with people who are more schizophrenic than my sister was. In fact, one of my favorite, people whose legendary schizophrenia predates the internet is Francis E. Deck. And if you've seen the YouTuber Toad McKinley, he did this this beautiful documentary on Francis E. Deck about 3 years ago. So like that, I know from like the fuzzy numbers that YouTube uses. This is at least 3 years ago. It might be closer to 4 this year, and it's 2 hours long. So yeah, we've got 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 8 seconds. So it's like, for all practical purposes, 2 hours long. I'm going to link this in the chat real quick, and hopefully somebody will remind me to add it to the description box on the YouTube description box later. Let's play the first few minutes of this, just because Francis E. Deck was another legendary schizophrenic, and I find,
look,
like I said, I find people who were more schizophrenic than my sister just oddly fascinating. And
see the skull, the part of bone removed, the master race Frankenstein radio controls, the Brainbox broadcasting radio, the eyesight television, the Frankenstein earphone radio, the threshold brainwash radio, the latest new skull reforming contain all Frankenstein controls, even in thin skulls of white pedigree males. Visible Frankenstein controls, the synthetic nerve radio directional antenna loop. Make copies for yourself. There is no escape from this gangster police state using all of the deadly gangster Frankenstein controls. In 1965, CIA gangster police beat me bloody, dragged me in chains from Kennedy, New York airport. Since then, I hide in forced jobless poverty, isolated.
Francis E. Deck, Esquire, is a figure shrouded in mystery. He can best be described as one of the earliest, fairly well-documented cases of targeted individuals, sort of mental illness turned mass conspiratorial delusion due in large part to the advent of the internet and subsequently social media. Sufferers of this delusion believe that government agents are utilizing strange and fantastical technologies to remotely surveil, harass, and both physically and psychologically torture them. Most often, these individuals are suffering from some sort of mental illness manifesting as persecutory delusions. There are relatively conspiracy for these cases, often for financial motivation and causing great damage to very sick people. In the most severe cases, sufferers of this delusion trust no one, not even their closest friends or family members. There are countless videos circulating on the internet of confrontations between these sick people and completely oblivious strangers whom they publicly accuse of participating in gang-stalking them. These instances will only grow more frequent and these delusions more spread as the pervasiveness of technology increases, and will, unfortunately, continue to be given credence by the very real and well-documented cases of both government agencies and private companies covertly surveilling unsuspecting citizens. Francis E. Deck was a harbinger for the rise of this awful condition of the mind, but more importantly, he was a madly charismatic poet with a knack for completely captivating the attention of anyone willing to read or listen to his work. This is in spite of the fact that he virulently hated and often maligned quite literally everyone who wasn't 100% West Slavic Polish, and even then, he would still consider you a parroting puppet Frankenstein slave. Deck became something of a mythical figure in underground culture beginning in the late 1980s after legendary radio broadcaster Boyd Doc on Rock Britain recorded a brilliant 41-minute spoken word performance piece of his writings, an excerpt of which you heard in the introduction of this video and will continue to hear throughout. Of the dozens of pieces of performance art inspired by Deck's mad, conspiratorial ravings, these recordings stand out in that they unintentionally lit the spark of widespread interest.
Yeah. Now, I'd been aware of Francis E. Deck since before I heard those recordings. Actually, my friend Don Bowles was involved in the recordings too. He did some of the. I think I left a comment about this. Oh, okay. I left a couple other comments. Oh, damn. Toad didn't, Toad hasn't released the Forrest Jackson video. And I want to know more about this astericism. God damn. Okay, I'm gonna highlight this, copy. Did I leave another comment? Because, like, I know my friend Don was involved with some of these, at least some of the recordings of Francis E. Deck. But yeah, Deck, like when you heard the DJ reading from one of Deck's pamphlets, which he would do, what he would do was like, so there's those old cards that come in magazines for that say like no postage necessary if mailed within the United States, and like it would be to and these little cards, they would be in magazines, and like you would send these into like nominally like subscribe to the magazine, or to send away for more information about XYZ, right? So he would kind of take advantage of that technicality, and sometimes they would require additional postage upon delivery, which kind of added to his infamy. But yeah, like, so he would send these back to spread the word of whatever weirdness was going on with with his TI delusion. And yeah, I can agree with no, not Zoroastrianism. That's that's what Freddie Mercury grew up in. He was his family was Zoroastrian, and the fact that it was Freddie Mercury kind of got me interested in what in Zoroastrianism for a little while. So but coming back to this Greco-Roman mystery religion, so there was um the cult of Isis. Yes, it began in Egypt. Um, but but um but um but um but the name Isis is a Hellenization of the Hellenization of the okay, Isis is an ancient Egyptian goddess who became her name comes from the Egyptian Eset, the seat, which referred to her stability, and also throne of Egypt. Dies bwysgaf hen aifft oedd Isis merchenaf e dwy geb ai gymarnwt tyfodd e chwit e fod yn ddylanwadol iawn yn hir henfyd gan. Okay, what the hell is Isis an Anglicization of? Or not Anglicization, Hellenization of? Okay. Greco-Roman Old Kingdom. Okay, name and origins. In Egypt and Nubia, people often, especially nowadays, people will often like combine Egypt and Nubia. Both kingdoms were in what is now. Yes, Nigel. Nigel, but both kingdoms were in what is now like the modern political borders of Egypt. But Egypt was a bit closer to the was basically like on the Mediterranean Sea, while Nubia was a bit further south down the Nile. But they were two separate kingdoms for a time. I forget what the hell. I forget what the hell combined them. Many scholars have focused on trying to determine her origins. Her Egyptian name was written as something that is not coming up. Oh, neat. Okay, as a something. Pronunciation of which changed over time. Rusa, Usa, Esa, which became Ese in the Coptic form of Egyptian. Ooh. Coptic is a group of closely related Egyptian dialects representing the most recent developments of the Egyptian language and historically spoken by the Copts, starting from the 3rd century AD in Roman Egypt. Coptic was supplanted by Arabic as the primarily spoken language. Okay. Wusa, in the Meroitic language of Nubia and Eosis, on which her modern name is. Yep, okay, yep. Hey, I wasn't too far off. Eosis. Okay, so yeah, it is a Hellenization of the Hey, looks like they donated to Ko-Fi. Thanks so much, whoever did that. I'm assuming it happened soonish, even though I don't always get the alerts on my thing right away. So yeah, we see how yeah, like Wusa, Yosis. So yeah. But yeah, Timecube. Just like I said, my first experience with Timecube, I sat there reading it for over 5 hours, just like kind of fascinated. And there is some sense in what he's saying, like um like if you really kind of think about it. So like like there's the I used to have a globe that had one of those things at the top where like like, and it was movable, and you'd put like noon, like, well, you'd put the time like over your time zone, and you could like easily see like where like what time it was in all the other time zones, right? So like you right and so it's like in if it's noon on Greenwich Mean Time, then it would be midnight. Shit. I forget. But, like do a 180 around the globe, then it's midnight on that part of the globe. But, 6 hours, it would be 6 a.m. and yeah, it would be 6 p.m. There and 6 a.m. there. And these are all happening at virtually the same time, right? So like so like the sun is here, Earth is here, and when the sun and like when the Earth is at this part at this point, like in its turn, for the day, that's just how it works. Like, I mean, it's a really convoluted way of putting it, but if you're familiar with schizophrenic logic, then it kind of makes sense. Like, it does. It kind of makes sense if you think about it that way. Like I said, I grew up like kind of like intuitively learning how to decipher schizophrenic logic. So it's easy for me to get a handle on this. So like when Best X like put me in front of Timecube for the first time in, like, I don't know, let's just say like October of Y2K, I just started reading for like, and it kept going for like 5.5 hours until he came back into the bedroom and said, and asked what I was looking at, while he was out like on his day off, and he was like in the front room like playing video games, and I said, I'm still reading Timecube, and he said, still? That was over 5 hours ago. What are you doing? And I say, it's starting to make a little bit of sense. And he says, God damn it, I got to take you to go eat something. This is going to ruin your brain. And I say, I grew up with a schizophrenic sister. Like, I think I know, like, what's going to ruin my brain or not. So yeah, Timecube, 4CE. In 1884, Meridian Time personnel met in Washington to change Earth time. First word said was that only one day could be used on Earth to not change the one-day Bible. So they applied the one day and ignored the other 3 days. The Bible time was wrong, and it proved wrong today. This a major lie has no such evil feed from it's wrong. No man on earth has no belly button. It proves every believer on earth a liar. I'm still not sure what the hell that's supposed to mean. Oh, wait, that's right. That's right. The oldest parts of this are at the beginning, or like at the end, just due to the way that Blessed Jean Ray wrote this up. Son of a bitch. Oh my gosh, when am I gonna get back to okay. Oh dear. Did you see the movie Matrix? Actually, the induced night dream world is synonymous with the academic religious induced daytime word world, enslavement of humans. Word has no inherent value. It was invented as a counterfeit and fictitious value to represent natural values in commerce. Unfortunately, human values have declined to fictitious world values. Unknowingly, you are living in a word world, as in a fictitious life in a counterfeit nation, which you could consider matrix-induced dream world. Can you distinguish the academic-induced word world from the natural real world? Beware of the change when your brain is free from induced word world enslavement. For you could find that the natural real world has been destroyed. Oh, wait. Son of a bitch. Oh, next page. Please. Oh, dear. Greenwich time is a lie. Your midday is someone else's midnight, someone else's sundown, and even someone else's sunup. Do you know that time is a simultaneous four-corner square that rotates to a 4-day time cube within one 24-hour rotation of Earth? You are educated, stupid, and unable to know nature's 4-day time cube creation. And this is what I explained a couple minutes ago. This, like I said, it's what I explained. The Earth is doing its like daily rotation, and during its annual trip around the sun. And so, like in its daily rotation, when it's like noon facing this way, when noon is facing the sun here, it's midnight on the opposite side of the world. And then, there it would be noon, there it would be 6 p.m., there it would be 6 a.m., right? So, yeah, like, you know, in a certain way that is, four different, points of the day happening at the same time. Do I mean it's a little convoluted relative to how that all works, but it okay, so let's see. And let's go up. Okay. Timecube simultaneous 4-day creation, 4 out of 16 cube divinity. And so, yeah, this is what I explained. Midday, sundown, midnight, sun up. You are one corner rotating 4-corner family time ages. I'm still not sure what that means. The wisest human, I will give $1,000 to any person who can disprove 4 days in each Earth rotation. It's a pity that religious and academic word is a crime against nature and enslaves children. For and this like random capitalization of nouns is heavily, throughout here. Four-cornered truth is ineffable by man or God until word is cornered. All math is fiction. Confirmation. Jean Ray, Cubic, P.O. Box, St. Petersburg, Florida. Oh no, I've doxed him. He's passed away, so like send whatever you want to this P.O. box. It'll come right back to you, I'm sure. Okay, so midday, midnight, sun up, sun down. Socrates live here. Human form is a personified pyramid. Something live here. Einstein lives here. 1 24-hour day rotation is deadly erroneous. Jesus live here. Oh my gosh, I don't know what the hell this part is going on about. Life encompasses a 416 cube principle. 1 24-hour Earth day, rotate Earth 1/4 turn. Socrates has a midday. Clintons have a Clintons? Oh my gosh. Wait. Socrates has a midday. Clintons have a sundown. Einstein has a midnight. Jesus has a sun up. Harmonic cube. 1 24-hour Earth day. Rotate Earth 1/4 turn. Socrates has a sundown. Clintons have a midnight. Einstein has a sun up. Jesus has a midday. Socrates has a midday or midnight. Clintons have a sun up. Einstein has a midday. Jesus has a sundown. 1 24-hour day. Rotate Earth 1/4 turn. Socrates has a sun up. Clintons have a midday. Yeah, okay. And let's all right. If Earth stood still, it would have a midday, midnight, sun up, and sundown as 4 corners. Each rotation of Earth has 4 middays, 4 midnights, 4 sun ups, and 4 sundowns. These 16 space-times demonstrate cube proof of 4 full days simultaneously on Earth within 1 rotation. The academia created 1 day Greenwich time is bastardly queer and dooms future youth and nature to a hell. Ignorance of a 4-day harmonic cube nature indicts humans as unfit to live on Earth. Jean Ray Cubic. This is something. This really is something, and like I said, like if you think about it, there is a logic behind this. It's just kind of convoluted, and it's clearly schizophrenic logic. Oh, the hell! You word murder your children. Human metamorphosis has 4 lifetime stages known as baby, child, parent, and grandparent. Bible God equates 1 corner and bare earth for children. 4 truth is ineffable, and no self or God can speak truth. Only baby is born. Adult is not born. Without metamorphosis, no adults. Proving human stupidity. Revelation 7:1 recognizes 4 Earth corners. 3 equator, 4 corner. Earth time rotates 96 hours as a simultaneous 4-day cube. You were taught that the Earth has only 1 equator, as if Earth was flat. You were taught ignorance. Creation has 2 sex poles and 4 corner races of humans. God is cornered as a queer. Jean Ray Cubic. Okay, well, at least Jean Ray is not homophobic, I guess, because, God is of both sexes, cornered and cubed, and okay, yep. Proving human stupidity. Oh my gosh, do I remember this part? Because this site has really okay. Oh, okay. Proving human stupidity. Cubic symmetry 4-day Earth. Impossible for a self of equal to equal a family cube. Educators are evil to teach familyism. Metamorphic man turns 4 life corners. Grandchild, child, parent, grandparent. Wait, I thought it was baby, child, parent, grandparent. Okay. Four-corner day, midday, sundown, midnight, sun up. One turn equals 4 days. Jean Ray, cubic. Humans are educated so stupid that they cannot comprehend the fact that the sun shining upon the earth creates 4 different configurations we know as midnight, sunup, midday, and sundown simultaneously. Each created quadrant, quarter, or corners rotates to create its own 4-corner square for its time cube. You are so stupid that you do not know that your top, bottom, front, back, left, and right sides are created at the same time. When sun shines upon earth, the 4-corner Earth Day is created simultaneously, but each corner represents a single corner lifetime stage of human metamorphosis as in baby, child, parent, and grandparent. Educated, stupid humans have not the rationale to understand 4-corner metamorphosis. You are stupid and evil and do not know you are stupid and evil. Jean Ray. So, this is a thing. Earth has 4 simultaneous days within only one rotation. Losing 3 days in each Earth rotation has retarded your mentality to stupid and an education of evil. You do not have the mind or education to envision nature's time cube. Singularity debunked by Timecube. Self is the lowest form of humanity. Self-God is lowest human behavior. Family is source of human creation. Community is perpetual family self. Evil educators brainwash children. Okay, that doesn't link anywhere. Word is a Trojan horse. God is an evil invention. Life is a crapshoot with a femininity cube and a masculinity cube. God is an evil invention. Okay. Take it away, Jean Ray. To deny time cube is evil. Earth rotates inside a time cube. In one rotation of Earth, there are 24 hours midnight to midnight, 24 hours sunup to sunup, 24 hours midday to midday, 24 hours sundown to sundown, 96 hours in a single Earth rotation. No human or God occupies over one corner at same time during a 4-corner rotation. 3 days lost to academic stupidity. There are 4 simultaneous days created within a single rotation of Earth. Teaching that Earth has only 1 day in one rotation is adult scam forced upon their children. 4-corner life is ineffable truth. Cubeless academia spews deceit and plunders natural resources. I'm still not quite sure how that shows God as an evil invention, but yeah, this is, hey, we've got somebody watching on Twitter. Always dead name Twitter. It's the only based form of dead naming. And someone's watching on Twitch. Feel free to hit like, subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube if you don't already follow me on Twitter. And I am continuing to read a little bit from Timecube because I spent 5.5 hours reading this when I was with Best X over 20 years ago now. Creation origin found. Creation origin found in higher order cube form. Cube life too moral for humans who think of self above family, bond, and community allegiance. Time cube is a forbidden truth. Humans refuse to acknowledge nature's harmonic time cube, for it transcends, contradicts, and debunks their pedantic academic brainwashing, indoctrination, and educator taught Tower of Babel, near Outlaw's word, and its time cube truth is unspeakable. Education induces stupidity. Explain 4 life human metamorphosis. As we see, like, Jean Ray became like kind of obsessed with the number 4, and that's pretty common to schizophrenic logic. Let's see. You are probably brainwashed, indoctrinated, educated, stupid, and cannot comprehend nature's harmonic, simultaneous 4-day perpetual time cube creation. When the sun shines upon Earth, two major time points are created on opposite sides of the Earth, known as midday and midnight. Where the two major time forces join, synergy creates two new minor time points we recognize as sun up and sun down. The four equidistant equidistant time points can be considered as time square imprinted upon the circle of Earth. In a single rotation of the Earth sphere, each time corner point rotates through the other three corner time points, thus creating 16 corners, 96 hours, and 4 simultaneous 24-hour days within a single rotation of Earth, equated to a higher order of life. Time cube. Ignorance of time cube is evil. All educated are stupid from brainwashing and indoctrination. Pedant teachers cannot comprehend that there are 4 simultaneous years within a single rotation of Earth around the sun. Each season has its own separate corner year. Which is expanding on the 4 separate corner days in each rotation of the Earth. It's so yeah, like I said, like this kind of fixation on the number 4. This is fairly common in schizophrenic logic. I'm Your own people will kill you to prevent this forbidden truth cube from ever being known. Socrates was killed to hide truth from public. One corner God is a fraud. Are you afraid now? Okay. You're a personified pyramid corner. Educated people are the evil empowerment of the self, the lowest form of humanity. Humans are brainwashed, stupid, and indoctrinated evil. A human will rotate around 4 corner lifetime stages within a family metamorphosis: baby, child, parent, and grandparent. Name your 16th great grandparents. Educators teach erroneous mathematics. 3-dimension math is as in length, width, and height are erroneous when applied within a cube-like room, for they do not account for the 4-corner perspective dimensions of difference as in 4-dimensional space. Solar system, Earth, sphere, and human body all have a front, back, 2 sides, which rotate between the 2 top and bottom poles, ceiling and floor parameters. No single corner human can occupy or experience more than a single corner at the same time during a 4-corner rotation within the 4/16th creation principle. Earth sphere rotates within an invisible time cube. Unseen, humans have not the education or rationale to comprehend nature's simultaneous 4-day cube. So you'll see. Like, feel free to tell your friends to come watch the stream. I want a few other people watching before we get into reading from Resurrect Isis. And as I said, unless the guy who created this site was really committed to doing a bit, which like in 2006, I believe, would have been like some serious method acting levels of trolling. Like I don't think anybody at that time would have necessarily been that committed to the bit, right? So Of course. Damn it. Hold on, I'm checking something. Oh, hey, I've gotten 2 donos via to my PayPal via Ko-fi. Uh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Sweet, sweet deal. Okay. And I have enough in my bank account right now to add the evening, to add the night of the 10th. I am hoping we can get the 11th tonight at the hotel, because otherwise the cats and I are back out on the streets, and I cannot do that. I cannot do that because the tent was set on fire about 4.5 weeks ago now, and it will drive me more than a bit mad. I'm I'm able to hold it together a bit for this kind of deal because I am an entertainer. I do not like to invite my audience into my problems. Um, but I can guarantee you that after I end the stream, I will be like bordering on panic mode because because of our current situation. And I was supposed to hear back from my social worker yesterday about shit he was supposed to be seeing people at the apartment complex I applied for about. And I have yet to see that actually happen. Like, I have yet to hear back, from him about this. So that's kind of pissing me off a little bit, but again, I'm able to hold it together for the stream, but I will not be all together after I end it. It's gonna be hey, we've got 3 in audience. All right, whining about my life. It sure does have a way of bringing that out in people. I'm hoping to have a couple more viewers before I start reading from this gloriously convoluted website that I've seen people recently, like in the last few years. Every time I show it to somebody, they're just like, "This strikes me as kind of like a Pagan Timecube," and it kind of is. And much like Gene Ray from Timecube, um, the guy who started this website is absolutely serious, unless he is that committed to a bit. And I first became aware of this website in 2006 when I was active on a bunch of Hellenic pagan email lists. The guy who created this website joined at least 3 of those email lists that I was on, and seemed very very dedicated to spreading the arcane knowledge he'd somehow discovered on his website. He seemed very serious at the time. I'm willing to accept it if it turns out he is just that committed to a bit, but it's kind of wacky. It's some seriously, hijinks. It's some serious hijinks going on with this, and as I said a bit earlier, I grew up with one of my sisters as had schizoaffective disorder, and one of my other sisters was autistic with some other kind of delusional disorder. But so I grew up like basically like with this with this kind of like in. Yeah, I grew up to have this innate ability to try and decipher schizophrenic logic, which um, is far less useful than um, than my ability to be able to accurately guess the year of a film's release based on font used in the opening credits. Like like that has proved more useful to me at times, or at least far more entertaining a party trick than my ability to decipher schizophrenic logic. God damn it. I twisted up a couple of stitches here. Oh, shit. Never mind, I completely missed one. Son of a bitch. I see what I did, and I messed up on. Alright, there's your chat. And, it's going to be easier to just... Okay. 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 I completely missed a stitch. Hold Okay, I'm gonna, I want to get started on reading this out until I feel like I've lost enough brain cells. So I'm gonna do the return pass on this row and then start reading, as long as we've still got like a minimum of 3 viewing right now. Feel free to say something, like add something to the chat, maybe, like that would be nice. Let me know if I'm being at least vaguely entertaining. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let us get our groove in it. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let us get our groove in it. So, quick little reminder, if you're here and you find what's going on to be at least vaguely entertaining, feel free to and a copy and a paste hereabouts. Feel free to go to my Ko-Fi page and donate whatever you think is fair entertainment value. And all right, time to do the return pass. Tri, pedwar, pump, chwech, saith, wyth, now, dig, un ar deg, dair deg, tri ar deg, pedwar ar deg, pump deg, un ar pump deg, dair pump deg, dau, pedwar ar pump deg, ugain, un ar ugain, dair ugain, tri ar ugain, pedwar ar ugain, pump ar ugain, chwech ar ugain, saith, wyth, naw, deg ar ugain, un ar deg, dair deg, tri ar deg, pedwar deg, pump deg ar ugain, un ar pump deg, dair pump deg, naw ar ugain, pedwar ar pump deg ar ugain, degain, un ar degain, dair degain, tri, pedwar, pump, chwech, saith, wyth, naw, hanner cant, un ar hanner cant, dair hanner cant, tri, pedwar, pump, chwech, saith, wyth, naw, trigain, un ar trigain. God damn it, I dropped another stitch somewhere down here. Son of a bitch. Unless. Dega. Undercount. I did. I dropped another stitch somewhere. Son of a bitch. Okay. But where? Okay, I'll just scythe. Now dig. Hier dig. Daar dig. Here dig. Increase. Pimp dig. Yeah. Oh, I've got snoring kitties. I don't know if anybody heard that, but it's adorable. Oh, I think I know where I dropped the stitch. But it's better now, so fuck it. Okay. Alright. Pause the stopwatch on there. And let's see. I've been streaming an hour and 7. Oh, hey! Carmine Gloomy Sunday Hunter. I forgot to I just because of how I was streaming last night, I wasn't able to read that fully. I am ask say you forgot to ask what my pronouns. I'm a he, him. I'm just very short and pretty. Um, I'm going to take a quick stretch and annoy the cats, but I'm going to annoy them with love. Unfortunately, they're like not in view of the laptop camera in in the new motel room. Well, I say new. I mean, it's new to me. There's two extended stay America within about 2 miles of each other in the Ann Arbor area, and I'm in the cheaper one now. Love the kitties. Oh yeah. Um. 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 I forget if you're in Catboy Ranch Discord, the 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 Keffel's Discord server. There's a there's two weekly support groups. One on Sunday morning, like from about like 11 to 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then there's one in on a Monday evenings that's roughly like 6 to 9 or so. I usually do the Monday evening ones, and the last one that I was in attendance Phoebe decided to just like come and cat bomb the group. It was adorable. They always are. So just while I'm taking a stretch, I'm not going to leave the audience without something vaguely entertaining. You know what? Let's religion psycho I don't want to be a downer on this. Let's you know what? Let's part 1 from Moonbooks Publishing. This could be something. That one's a bit long. Let's see. I'm usually kind of like, sometimes religion for breakfast is really good. Sometimes their research is a little bit meh. I like Gnostic Informant, but he gets really esoteric. And I'm not gonna like just because the page that I'm gonna be reading from today is just so freaking weird. Um, Sticks and Bones with Chelsea and 10. Oh my gosh, I gotta check that channel out at some point. Um, no, Gnostic Informant, I'm not gonna inflict you upon people right now. What's a good one? No. Oh, that's let's go up to Religion for Breakfast. Where did that go? No, no. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna play this at some 1.25 speed for you while I'm taking a stretch and all of that.
This is a temple to the goddess Isis, one of the most famous Egyptian goddesses, wife of god King Osiris, mother to the falcon god Horus. So where in Egypt would you find this temple to this Egyptian goddess? Well, not in Egypt. This is the temple of Isis in Pompeii, the Roman city famously destroyed by the volcano Vesuvius in 79 CE. But hold on, what is an goddess doing in a Roman city on the Italian peninsula? The answer is a fascinating example of religious exchange and evolution. Isis, the attention of the Greeks and the Romans, and worship of this goddess expanded outside of Egypt, evolving into what historians call a Greco-Roman mystery religion. Today's video is a collaboration with my friend and colleague, Dr. Angela Puca. She's an expert in the study of magic, esotericism, and contemporary paganism. She published historical misconceptions in paganism and sleep paralysis. In other words, really cool stuff. And all of her videos are rooted in the same critical academic approach which I use here in Religion for Breakfast. My video will examine Isis devotion in the Roman Empire, and she'll be exploring Isis devotion in the here and now period. So click the link in the comments below to watch her companion video. The ancient Egyptians worshipped Isis far back as the 3rd millennium E. She's mentioned as the Great Isis in the so-called pyramid texts, and she's probably best known as the wife and sister of the god Osiris. You may have heard the story of her recovering Osiris's body parts and reviving after he was killed and dismembered by his brother Seth. From stories like this, Isis came with magic and healing, along with the mother of the falcon god Horus. Since every pharaoh was the incarnation of Horus, technically every pharaoh was thus the son of Isis. In a bunch of different artistic representations, she's portrayed in this maternal role, with Horus the child sitting in her lap, or the famous motif Isis Lactans, the goddess breastfeeding Horus. Because of its striking similarities to Maria Lactans, the Mother Mary nursing Jesus, scholars debate to this day to what extent Egyptian iconography inspired this artistic motif. Over time, she grew more in the Egyptian pantheon, becoming one of the most popular gods in the Egyptian late period. For example, check out the huge Philae temple on an island near the city of Aswan in Upper Egypt. This was a gigantic temple complex built and dedicated to the goddess Isis. First built during the late period, but then was expanded under the Ptolemies, one of the Hellenistic kingdoms that succeeded Alexander the Great. This skyrocketing popularity coincided with the cult of Isis hopping the Mediterranean Sea over to Greece and Rome, where, as we mentioned, it eventually developed into what historians call a Greco-Roman mystery religion, sometimes simply called mysteries or a mystery cult. Now, I'm using that word cult in the technical scholarly sense of the word. It refers to a system of veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or deity. We see this in the word cult and the word cultivation. So the cult of Isis is the worship and care of the goddess, rather than the more mainstream sense of the word, which often implies a negative, extreme, or violent religious group. So what about the mystery part of mystery cult? These were religious groups in the ancient Greco-Roman world, characterized by a few. Number 1, voluntary association. Anyone could join. 2, initiation. If you wanted to join, you needed to undergo a series of rituals to become a member. In many cases, this involved purification rituals like abstaining from certain food, alcohol, or sex, as well as having some financial skin in the game. This could include for the goods needed to participate, like buying special ritual clothing, or simply financially supporting the organization with dues. 3, mystery religions often involved secrecy. The teachings and many of the rituals were kept on a need to know basis among initiated members only. So historians debate how secret they really were, and many of the rituals were public or at least semi-public. For all, this temple to Isis is not exactly an easy building. In fact, it's connected to the theater, and scholars have argued that they must have used the public theater for some of their rituals. Some mystery religions also involved rituals performed at night or ecstatic rituals, like dancing, music, or even the possible use of hallucinogenic substances, at least possibly in the Eleusinian mysteries. The Greeks used words like orgia, mysteria, or teletype to describe these religions, usually translated in rites, or initiations. Some of the most well mysteries include the aforementioned mysteries of Eleusis, mysteries of Samothrace, the cult of the goddess Magna Mater, the cult of Mithras, and of course, the cult of Isis.
My religion, I've been describing it in the last couple of years as eclectic polytheist. I honor many gods, I honor like many deities of many pantheons, um, um, both older and newer ones. The you know I tend to like refer to ancient practice for ancient deities, but first, but as relationship builds up with with some deities, I will just like go with what works. So okay, so I'm gonna adjust this a tiny bit to so I can read it better. Well, at least my rice hasn't gotten stone cold, but anyway, Genesis of Isis. And as I said earlier in the stream, the guy who wrote this website showed up. I want to say it was around like 2006, 07, when I was really active on a bunch of Hellenic polytheist email lists. And our guy who wrote this showed up on at least 3 of those email lists I was on and was really into promoting this website. He seemed absolutely serious about everything he was saying on this. So I understand if somebody wants to think it's satirical, because it does get pretty damn crazy, but I don't think it's intended satirically. I think based on the albeit limited interaction I had with the guy who wrote this, that many of us at the time on like Hellenic _ Pagan Yahoo group and Hellenic Reconstruction Yahoo group and at least one other that I'm forgetting, or was it Hellenic Polytheist? I don't know. It was like 3 of them, all Hellenic something or other. And yeah, he seemed absolutely serious about everything on this, and some people were like trying to talk some sense back into him, but many realized that he was just kind of nuts. So, Genesis of Isis. The Genesis of Isis dispersed genes of Isis. Genes of Isis. To the whole world. The Genesis of Isis was a missionary campaign to elevate humankind out of war and ignorance and to unify humankind into a peaceful world family. We got all these like iconic cultic images. That I do believe that's Kali of and here we've got the Minoan serpent goddess. That's Kubele. That's Kubele. Though depending on the region, may or may not have been seen as syncretic to Isis. Anyway, serpent goddess and winged goddess imagery in various cultures symbolize the genesis of Isis in those cultures. The word Genesis is derived from genes of Isis. The word genius is derived from genes of Isis. The original Isis was born a genius by chance. The genesis of her genius wasn't left to chance. The Genesis of Isis dispersed genes of Isis throughout the world in a missionary campaign to unite humankind into a peaceful world family. Via that religious campaign to unify humankind, Isis became the ancestral mother of everyone on Earth. She became the Earth Mother Goddess. We are now a world family of Earth Mother's children. The genesis of Isis began in Africa. A genius was born in Africa. She was an alien freak amongst her own people. She was born amongst Homo sapiens who had flat foreheads and a single bushy eyebrow without a part at the I forgot this part. Without a part in the middle. She was born with a bulging forehead and a parted eyebrow. She was the original Homo sapient with the full forehead and the parted eyebrow. Hundreds of generations of Africans, even down to colonial times, practiced molding the skulls of children who into idealized shapes, acting in accordance with customs that harkened back to the original genius ancestress. The African genius was a female ancestress of the woman who would later become the Earth Mother goddess Isis. The genesis of Isis didn't begin as a missionary campaign to disperse genes of Isis to the world or to elevate humankind. It began as a family affair. A genius child was born amongst a race of Homo sapiens who were cattle herders and breeders. When an animal that had desirable qualities showed up in their herds, they used that one for a breeding stock to upgrade the quality of their herds. Some of the cattlemen of her tribe recognized the genius child as a potential asset to themselves. They saw an opportunity to use her as breeding stock to upgrade the intelligence level of their own family or clan. They embarked upon a breeding program to procreate children from the genius child who would have some of her genius intelligence. They used selective breeding and selective midwifery to upgrade the intelligence level of their own family. In the beginning, the genesis of Isis genius went very slowly and with great difficulty. In addition to position within the clan or tribe, the genesis of her genius had to overcome genetic difficulties and physical limitations. In the genius had been if the genius had been a boy, the whole affair would have been much simpler. The genius child, a female, could have only one child at a time. It may have taken many attempts for her to produce a son who had her parted eyebrow. I forgot. How did I forget that this guy would go on about unibrows? What the shit? The genius child, a female, could only have one child at a time. It may have taken many attempts for her to produce a son who had her parted eyebrow and who could pass that characteristic on to his offspring. That is why the son was such an important, cherished figure in pagan religions and in pagan religion and culture. How did I forget? I'm going on about the goddamn unibrow. Oh, shit. Oh my god. And as I said, this guy is completely serious. I exchanged a number of emails with this dude, and he's absolutely serious about everything he's saying here. Like, especially the whole, like, you know, separate eyebrows thing is like, okay, let's continue. Pagan midwives took single-browed babies out of the gene pool. Okay. I can keep it together. I promise. I can keep it together. Pagan midwives took single-browed babies out of the gene pool. The sacrifice of the single-browed babies fell heavily on boy babies. For many centuries, it was much easier to produce daughters with parted eyebrows than it was to produce sons with parted eyebrows. That placed a very high value on sons relative to daughters. In some cultures, that tradition persists to this day. Citation needed. Of cultures that that ritually sacrifice unibrow babies. What the hell? How did I forget about? How did I forget about the unibrow? What the hell? Oh my god, this is just so weird to me because like my eldest half sister, the one on my mom's side, um, like my mother was a Frank Zappa groupie in the late 60s and early 70s, and my eldest half sister, which is on my mother's side, very much has the Zappa nose and eyebrow singular. So I'm just, and of course, like Frank Zappa, goddamn musical genius, but he has had because he passed away like 94, I believe. He had an eyebrow. I think he plucked his. Still though, it's like, what the hell? What is up with this guy? The overvaluation of sons relative to daughters has, and I think in some regions, just because of the way that that puberty will hit facial hair, I do think that it is more common to for boys to have a unibrow than it is for girls, but like only somewhat more common. But again, like this is something that that more often than not will like it's something that you age into facially. Like it's very rare to see babies with like a full unibrow, but oh gosh. So yeah, the overvaluation of sons relative to daughters has led to a lot of problems. Okay, that at least makes some sense. The overvaluation of sons relative to daughters has led to a lot of problems. This is the first thing this guy has said that makes a lot of sense. And we are this far into the page. Oh my gosh, wait. Oh gosh, we got to go. I don't know how I got to this. I don't know how I got to like a separate page. This is not the this is not the main page. Okay. It has led to the dominance of men and the suppression of women in many cultures. Also true. But again, like this is like the first thing he said so far that has made a lick of sense. It has led to the battle of the sexes in Western culture. It has led to high-tech child sacrifice in the present day. Wait, what? It has led to high-tech child sacrifice in the present day. What? Okay. In some instances, high-tech instruments are used to determine the sex of unborn children. Oh, yeah, okay. The like when you're doing in vitro fertilization, you can put the sperm in a thing, just because like X sperm versus Y sperm, there's like a very slight difference in there's a very, very slight difference in weight. Like obviously it would be hard to tell without these various medical instruments, but okay, let it used to determine the sex of unborn children. Female fetuses have been aborted as a result of ancient traditions that value sons over daughters. It is ironic to think that the sacrifice of single-browed sons it is ironic to think that the sacrifice of single-browed sons in ancient times has resulted in the sacrifice of millions of daughters in more modern times. Long before the birth of the African genius, an earlier enlightened genius, had unified much of the Eastern Mediterranean and Western Asia. Okay, that I if we're getting into Proto-Indo-European linguistic theory, that makes some sense. That was Assur, following the meltdown of the Ice Age, and his descendants established a far-flung empire of related kingdoms and kinship clans of the ancient world. Those were the early Unrain civilizations that practiced the old hawk god slash sun god religion. Their unifying symbol was the old Ure sunwing without serpents. Following the genesis of Isis, the Unrea sunwing with sacred asps of Isis added to it replaced the old Ure sunwing without the serpents. It is possible to trace this path of the genesis of Isis by the arrival of serpent symbolism in various cultures as her religion spread over the world. In prehistoric times, for the advent of writing, there was an Unrain kingdom in the Nile Delta. Urea in the Nile Delta may have been the first of the old Uraean kingdoms that Assur established after the meltdown of the Ice Age. It was certainly one of the very early ones. The prehistoric Upper Egypt kingdom, known as Upper Egypt Kingdom of Blackland, was probably also an old Uraean kingdom that Assur and his descendants established. Upper Egypt Blackland may have been a frontier logging, mining, and penal, colony of Lower Egypt Urea. Upper Egypt may have been a Siberia on the Nile in prehistoric times. The African genius child was born in that milieu. The Urians were followers of the old hawk god, sun god religion before the birth of Isis. See the Sunwing page on this website for a discussion of who and what were the Urians. The genesis of Isis genius remained a family affair for many generations. Wait, is that about talking about incest? It's been a few years since I've actually read this deep into this site. Like I said, I completely forgot about the weird thing this guy is fixated on the unibrow with. Okay, a family affair for many generations. Over time, that family gained power in the Blackland Kingdom. Eventually, descendants of the African genius conquered Urea in the Nile Delta. Isis became the mother of the throne goddess. The throne of Egypt passed from generation to generation via the female line of inheritance. Note, the African Egyptian name for Isis was Ast or Aset. However, using that form of her name would create some difficulties for this English language narrative. Wait. So is this admitting that he's that he just like made this all up? Oh my gosh, that has to be a recent edit because I don't think any of us caught, unless I don't know. It's I remember people were getting into him about the backwards etymology that he's using, like I know another term that I've seen used is like bacronyming or something. Like basically like trying to reverse engineer words, etymologically, which doesn't work. People say that about, the F slur for, gay men, about how it goes back to the burning times of witches, and, they threw gays on the fire to get it going real good before they hoisted up the witches on there. And I'm like, well, first off, like, humans make terrible kindling. We are full of liquid goo, which does not burn very well. So that is just like, nonsense etymology. But yeah, like people were going on at him about how he's doing this. So I think this here is a relatively recent edit. Um, but yeah, he's absolutely serious. Like I said, I've exchanged some emails with this guy, granted on a public email list, and when I say public, in that like anybody can join, and but yeah, this guy sure is something, because like I said, he's completely serious about this. But here he's acknowledging that he's doing some like reverse engineer um etymology, because a couple of us on on these Hellenic polytheist email lists back in like 2007 were pointing out to him like, no, dude, this is English that you're using for your weird etymology to do this. So I guess, so yeah, I guess he finally took somebody seriously. And um, okay, let's see. Even after descendants of the African genius conquered Urea in the Nile Delta, the genesis of Isis did not include the lower classes of humankind. Their political aims were still about evaluating and ruling, or elevating the ruling families or clans, and about preventing wars. In those early days, the ruling families of the old Uraean kingdoms were descendants of Assur. They were already a family, but they were a family at war within the family. The legendary resurrection of Assur that Isis accomplished was a reunification of Assur's primal family. Isis conquered more by love than by war. And I really like this painting. I don't know who the hell did it, but I've seen it elsewhere too, and this is just like a gorgeous painting. Can we zoom in a little bit? All right. Hey, I'm reading this a lot better now. Okay. But yeah, that's just a beautiful painting. It's not a Josephine Wall. I can identify her. Josephine Wall is like Thomas Kincaid for pagans. Like Thomas Kincaid, Norman Rockwell for pagans, right? Like I'm not just like making shit up when I make that comparison, because she's got the same kind of appeal there. Um, he should have put the disclaimer at the top of the page. Disclaimer about how he goes on about the unibrow for forever. Like he's something else. But yeah, like this is a gorgeous painting. I've seen it other places too. It's absolutely beautiful. I kind of want a print of it. It's something. Oh my gosh, I should have zoomed in on this a lot sooner. I would have like I would have done a lot less misreading. Anyway, Isis conquered more by love than by war. After their rise to power in Lower Egypt, Urea, they began marrying daughters of Isis into the ruling families of other kingdoms for political reasons. Descendants of the genius child were wiser than their relatives. Oh, okay, yeah, wiser than the non-descendants of the genius child, I guess. They were able to sell other branches of Assur's bloodline on the idea of elevating their intelligence by breeding up to Isis. They were able to conquer more by love and wisdom than by war. The genesis of Isis began through the process of royal marriages. It spread to the lower classes in much later times. Okay. The mother of the throne goddess Isis eventually became the Earth Mother goddess Isis. We all have some royal blood from the age of divine kings flowing in our veins. Okay. In the pagan kingdoms following the genesis of Isis, only two-browed Homo sapiens sapiens of goddamn unibrow again. I don't know why this is so funny to me. I don't know why this is so funny to me. Oh, this dude really hates unibrows, doesn't he? Okay, in pagan kingdoms following the genesis of Isis, only two proud Homo sapiens sapiens of the Isis bloodline could be heirs. So you could only be an heir to the throne if you had two eyebrows versus unibrow. This is some stuff there, ain't it? Okay. Pagan midwives took the old single-browed Homo sapiens out of the royal gene pool. Okay, so we've got some post-term abortion. We've got some post-term abortion of unibrow babies. What the hell? Post-term abortion of unibrow babies by pagan midwives. Okay, pagan midwives were trained to recognize. Okay, so pagan midwives were trained to recognize certain traits, such as which babies would get a unibrow on puberty. This is something. Oh my god, I've got a freaking callus building up on my thumb from crochet lately, and it's I know it's different kind of skin than psoriasis, which is what my prescription ointment here is for, but it's a heavy ointment, so it's really good at like softening the skin a little bit. So but it's also got the steroid in it for in case I was gonna, because I've had patches of I've had instances where like callus will like build psoriasis plaques around it or something. Okay, the midwives sorted out genetic I gotta start from the beginning of this paragraph. This is just getting like more nonsensical, and if I resume to the middle of it, it's gonna be something. In the pagan kingdoms following the genesis of Isis, only two browed Homo sapiens sapiens of the Isis bloodline could be heirs. Pagan midwives took the old single-browed Homo sapiens out of the royal gene pool. Midwives were trained to recognize certain traits. The midwives sorted out genetic misfits and single-browed babies. At first, genes of Isis dispersed from the upper classes to the lower classes of people within the various kingdoms. It may have resulted more from casual breeding with their servants than from any thoughts of sharing or uplifting humanity. Eventually... Okay, so because the royal family, because men in the royal family were violating scullery maids and all of that, and the women of the royal family were getting some working class D on the side. But not for altruistic reasons. This helped disperse genes to amongst the working classes that would outbreed the unibrow from humanity. Eventually, the Temple of Isis actively propagated the genesis of Isis everywhere amongst all classes. Descendants of Isis were wiser than the other people of their time. They were a race apart from the people they ruled. They were gods who became a ruling class or caste in perpetuity. Okay. In the early stages of genesis of Isis, sorting out the single-browed Homo sapiens from the royal bloodlines resulted in a two-raised human, in which a superior race of Homo sapiens sapiens ruled over an inferior race of Homo sapien. That caused some serious problems in the ancient world. Biblical prophets railed endlessly against the injustices of that situation. The injustices of the two-race system contributed much to the downfall of pagan Rome. The problems of that two-race system weren't limited to only the ancient world. It resulted in rigid caste systems in places where it persisted until recent times. Superior race ideas powered colonialism, the Holocaust in Europe, the American Civil War, and hundreds of other wars. Superior race ideas are alive and well in many places in the world today. All right, this is generally true. There's only one human race now. We are all Earth Mother's children. We all have the mark of Isis on our foreheads, which is, that breadth of skin between your eyebrows. It is there. The part between our eyebrows. Yes. Oh, great. So let's see. My mother had groupie spawn with Frank Zappa, which was not conducive to the genes of Isis. Oh god. Were it not for the chance birth of the ISIS genius and for the human engineering project that took advantage of the opportunity to propagate her genius, there would have been no Moses, no Buddha, no Confucius, no Jesus, no Muhammad, no Shakespeare, no... Wait, okay, so religious figure, Shakespeare. No George Washington. No Edison. No Ford. God damn, I wish there were no Ford. Fucking Henry Ford ruined shit. No Einstein, no lights, no cars, no internet, no Neil Armstrong walking on the moon. We would still be living by firelight at perpetual war in a muscle-powered world. So it's because these people had no unibrow that we have electricity and the internet. Okay. Resurrect Isis by her love and wisdom, and through much struggle and sacrifice, she created a world family of us. We can be the peaceful and prosperous world family, world culture, civilization that she set out to create. It is possible and it is desirable. Addendum. This was taken from the Alphabet V page of this website. Okay, and here we have the three graces. I want to say Hedoni. No, that's making me think Leto, maybe Artemis. Don't recognize Devi, and that looks like another Minoan goddess. Okay, daughters of Isis carried the genius of Isis to different peoples of many lands. As evidenced by this one looks sub-Saharan. God, I wish I knew the name for this one, because she looks sub-Saharan. Looking at the features chiseled out here, it's a really gorgeous. Looks like it's a bas relief from a building. That's just some gorgeous work that's clearly 2,500 years old thereabouts. That's just absolutely beautiful. But like I said, like she looks sub-Saharan. Not sure, but just absolutely gorgeous. Wish I had a name for her. If somebody in chat watching right now, watching me like lose my shit over the over this guy's like rage against the unibrow, that would be helpful. But I'm sure we'll figure it out. Let me take a break to read some chat. Battle of the brows. I guess with large unibrows comes great responsibility. Yeah, yeah. This is something else, right? I mean, you can see why people have like compared it in the last couple of years when I start spreading this site around to like a Pagan Timecube, right? Like this guy is like fixated on unibrows and is incorporating this into this weird spiritual doctrine of his, and I find it oddly fascinating in the same way I find Francis E. Deck and Jean Ray a la Timecube absolutely fast. I find schizophrenic logic fascinating because my eldest half sister on my dad's side, my half sister on my dad's side, she had schizoaffective disorder, and my younger sister was autistic with another kind of delusional disorder. Not quite. I mean, I don't know. I think she also had bipolar with but like wasn't quite crossing the threshold to the schizoaffective middle there. But yeah, like there was like a more linear kind of logic, you know, like it seems to make more sense, her delusions. So I wouldn't exactly say schizophrenic logic from my younger sister, but you know, my half sister on my dad's side, definitely schizoaffective disorder, with some pretty clear schizophrenic logic. So like I said, I grew up learning how to decipher schizophrenic logic because, you know, the older sister who babysat for us all the time, because she was about 5-6 years my senior. Yeah, like I grew up learning how to make sense of this kind of stuff, and sometimes you just gotta laugh. Sometimes you just gotta laugh at the crazy talk because, you know, at least in this case, like he's not harming anybody with this, and he's absolutely serious. At least, you know, he was when he came onto the email lists I was on when I first discovered this in 2007-ish. And like I said, he was absolutely serious about it then. He probably still is now, since he's gone and done a few revisions, and clearly the site is still up. Going on 17 years later. Okay. Daughters of Isis carried the genesis of Isis to different people of many lands. There was a genesis of Isis. The original Isis was born a natural genius. Descendants of Isis decimated her genes to the rest of the world. That was the genesis of Isis. The name Genesis and the word genius are both derived from genes of Isis. The genesis of Isis was a program of selective breeding that oh God. Okay, we've got proto-eugenics in here that introduced her genes into the bloodlines of the royal families, and yeah, that is some eugenics, and leading families of many tribes and nations. See the Genesis of Isis page on this website. Daughters of Isis carried out the Genesis of Isis. The Genesis of Isis was a gentle conquest. Okay, so kinder, gentler eugenics. Isis conquered by love instead of war. Daughters of Isis were gift wives who carried the genes of Isis to the leading families of the world. Those gift wives weren't gifts. They were given in negotiated marriages and alliances. The entry of one of those women into a family's bloodline was a major genetic event in the genealogy of that family. Isis genealogy determined the political fortunes and social status of those families. At the time of the Genesis, you were nobody if you didn't have the Isis gene in your bloodline. And of course, as remember, the Isis gene is having separate eyebrows. Those gift wives were still daughters of Isis, even though they may have been born generations after the original Isis was gone. Those daughters of Isis were pedigreed descendants of the goddess. Yeah, this is just straight up ancient eugenics he's talking. All right. They were certified as virgins who were not pregnant at the time of their giving. Those daughters of Isis. How do you certify virginity? The hymen can break from doing doing like a yoga stretch slightly improperly. I think my eldest sister said hers split falling off a bicycle one time. When she was 11 or something. Let's see. Okay, pregnant at the time of their giving. Those daughters who succeeded at producing two-browed heirs in royal bloodlines became the mother goddesses of those lands where their progeny ruled. Genetic studies have shown that the entire population of Europe descended from 7 women. See The Seven Daughters of Eve by Brian Sykes Norton, 2001. Oh, God. Note, Brian Sykes dates the Daughters of Eve to the Mesolithic period before the meltdown of the Ice Age. The Pagan Foundation legend dates Isis and her daughter goddesses to the Neolithic period following the meltdown of the Ice Age. The different dates have yet to be rectified. Okay. Okay, return to homepage. All right, and we're doing this shit. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit, see if that. Oh no. Okay. Wait. Okay, wait. Now we can zoom in a little bit more and still fit on the screen. Yes. Okay. All righty. Okay, the Resurrect Isis Ever Marist Pagan magazine, which I don't think was ever an actual thing, as in a magazine that was printed and sold. Okay. This is Resurrect Isis homepage. No shit. Navigation link to Table of Contents Hub. The Hub has links to all pages on this website. All pages are linked back to the Hub. The message here is universal love. The mission here is to build a better world. The argument here is that we are already a one-world family. Their ancestral gods were their ancestors. They were the children of Mother Isis. Or they were all children of Mother Isis. Isis was a real person. She wasn't a just myth. Isis was the true mother of the Egyptian royal bloodline and pagan religion. She was the mother of the throne, Egyptian royalty, Egyptian religion, the Egyptian civilization all began from the womb of Isis. We all have one or more of the pharaohs and Isis queens in our ancestry. At this date, all us humans on this planet have that one woman in our ancestry. We are already a world family of Mother Isis children. Science will someday prove this, but it hasn't done so yet. That Science will one day prove this, but hasn't done so yet. That proof is coming from all the DNA studies that genetic scientists are doing. The ever-marist pagan argument here is that the gods and goddesses of old began as real people. They weren't just fictional characters. They were loved and revered ancestors who were deified for their deeds and wisdom. Not all of the pagan gods and goddesses were ancestors. Some of them were nature deities. Wait. Okay. This just contradicted himself. But I think some of us pointed that out, and apparently he didn't care enough to revise. So okay. But I mean, you know, this here that the pagan deities were deified through oral tradition. That's, you know, that's definitely an hypothesis that's been tossed around a lot. And, you know, like when you get into like some, you know, serious like academic pagan circles, you know, that's a common enough, like I said, that's a common enough hypothesis that gets tossed around. So yeah, it's definitely something, but you know, not all that unusual. Which is something that I find absolutely fascinating about a lot of schizophrenic logic, is that a lot of times it you know, that it'll start with something that, you know, is unaccepted, is like an accepted hypothesis or even like scientific theory, and then just like go off in its own weird direction. Okay. Okay, the ever-marist pagan argument here is that the gods and goddesses of old began as real people. They weren't just fictional characters. They were loved and revered ancestors who were deified for their deeds and wisdom. Not all of the pagan gods and goddesses were ancestors. Some of them were nature deities. Paganism was a mixture of ancestor worship and nature religion. This is true. Ancient, you know, especially like what's you know, the main theories on prehistoric paganism. This is a thing that's pretty well accepted of animism, like, you know, like prehistoric animist beliefs. Okay. Okay. Not all of the pagan gods and goddesses were ancestors. Some of them were nature deities. Paganism was a mixture of ancestor worship and nature religion. No one seriously believed that the sun god or sky goddess had human origins. Nevertheless, Osiris, Nephthys, Isis, and Horus were real people. They were the founding parents of Egyptian civilization. They were just as real as George Washington and Betsy Ross, or any of the founding fathers of American civilization. All of pagan ancestry goes back to those four gods and goddesses. I think somebody did correct him on some of that, but I never knew a whole lot about ancient Egyptian religion, so I'm not one who can easily correct that. Anyway, according to the foundation legend of Egypt, Isis resurrected Osiris from the dead. She copulated with her resurrected king. From that union, she begat their son, Heru Horus. Subsequent generations of Egyptian royalty traced their ancestral heritage to that event. I do think that was a generally true thing of the pharaoh, that you know, claim of divine ancestry. Their belief in an afterlife, the construction of the pyramids, the state religion, and the royal genealogy of Egyptian ruling families forever thereafter all began from the resurrection of Asur, the divine kings of the ancient pagan world, ruled by divine rights. Because they were descendants of the gods, they all traced their genealogy to that miraculous event. Alexander the Great was in Egypt 2,500 years after the alleged resurrection of Asur, trying to trace his own descent from those gods and not from the Greek gods. All right, that there sounds a little bit like nonsense. But anyway, Western scholars have dismissed the entire foundation of legend of Egypt as childish fiction and superstitious magic. But there is a lot of truth in the story if it is recognized as an allegorical tale of events that actually happened and not taken literally. Okay? Isis didn't literally resurrect the corpse of a man who had been murdered and hacked into pieces. The ancient king she allegedly resurrected was probably dead for 1,000 years before she resurrected him. Okay. Isis resurrected a culture. The resurrection of Assur was a religious and political renaissance. Via her womb, Isis reinvigorated the royal bloodline of kings of old who had fallen out of power and reestablished a defunct religion that had been fractured into a disarray of competing cults and conflicting ideologies. So wait, what does this have to... Oh, wait. Isis resurrected a culture, but her genes dispersed a culture without unibrow. All right. The resurrection of Isis is a labor of love. This is not a scientific study. No shit. This is not a scholarly thesis. Again, I agree. This is a synthesis of ancient history, myths, legends, art, and religious symbolism. The resurrection of Isis is a labor of love. The goddess Isis was once a real person. She was the ancestral mother of a worldwide family of divine kings. Traces of that ancient mother goddess, world family, world culture, civilization are still evident in the legends, languages, and cultures of civilizations all over the world. Militant monotheism demonized the pagans and destroyed their civilization in a violent power struggle to gain control of Rome. This website endeavors to retrace that ancient mother goddess civilization and restore Isis to her rightful place in history. But more importantly, this website does not merely engage in retracing the past. This website is dedicated to fostering a world culture civilization of the future. Why resurrect Isis? Okay. We need to develop a citizen of the world identity for ourselves. Citizens of the world, unite. The world of today is an anarchy of warring nations, predatory economics and captive populations. We need to create a multicultural world culture civilization based on respect and cooperation instead of predation and competition. A world culture civilization not governed by fear, greed, tyranny, and war. Okay, I can get on board with this. With this part anyway. I'm not so sure about the ancient eugenics of Isis breeding out the unibrow, but okay, yes, today is a war, I wouldn't call it an anarchy, but it is definitely, warring nations, predatory economics, and captive populations, and we need to, um, have a world civilization governed not by fear, greed, tyranny, or war. This I can get on board with. Okay. The world is evolving toward a global civilization. Population pressure, global economics, and the technology revolution are driving us toward a global civilization of some kind. Yeah, that's a fair assessment, I suppose. There is a world culture civilization of some kind in our future, whether we want it or not, whether we want one or not. What kind of civilization will that be? The world population more than doubled in the last 40 years, and it is well on the way to doubling again in the next 40 years. The established ways and institutions of a world divided up into nation states cannot bear up under the weight of that population. We need a new world order based on a world civilization idea, not on the fractured nationalism of today. The resurrection of Isis offers a way to do that. All right. So far, you've gone on about unibrows and stuff, but All right. We can do that by recognizing that we are already a family of Isis children. Confucius taught that when the family is in order, the world is in order. When our world family is in order, the world will be in order. Much of the fear-driven political and economic strife will subside. Isis was the ancestral mother of the bloodline of divine kings. The divine kings ruled by divine rights because they were descendants of the gods. According to the foundation legend of Egypt, Osiris, was the first king of the first kingdom on earth. Isis resurrected Assur from the dead and copulated with her resurrected king. From that divine union, she begat their son Heru, Horus. That union was the beginning of the bloodline of divine kings. The pagan kings of old, who ruled by divine rights, all traced their lineage back to that union. The name Caesar contains the name Assur. What? C plus Assur equals Caesar. Okay. Alexander the Great was in Egypt 3,000 years after the divine union, seeking to trace his own divine ancestry from the Egyptian gods, not from the Greek gods. We're all royalty. At this late date, we all have one or more of those divine kings and Isis queens in our ancestry. We are already a world family of children of Isis. We cannot go back to the age of divine kings, but a renaissance of mother goddess culture is the best possible path we have available, leading to a peaceful and prosperous world family, world culture, civilization in our future. See the Why Resurrect Isis page on this website, which I think was what I just... Oh no! This is a different one. Oh dear. Please tell me that page goes on more about the unibrow. Okay, Isis conquered more by love than by war. Isis was the goddess of love. By her womb, she conquered the world. Isis was a great, powerful, enlightened being like Buddha, Moses, or Jesus. A tomb where world culture civilization was built upon her works, her teachings, and her womb. She was the ancestral mother of pagans over the whole world. There was an ancient world family of pagan kingdoms that traced their royal genealogy of Isis and the resurrection of Assur. In Egyptian art, Isis is pictured with a throne upon her head. Okay. She was the mother of the throne of Egypt, passed down the female line of inheritance. Daughters of Isis married into ruling families of the pagan kingdoms all over the world. Via those Isis queens, mother goddess cultures spread from the eastern Mediterranean over most of Africa to Central America. What? Via those Isis queens, mother goddess cultures spread from the eastern Mediterranean over most of Africa to Central America, Japan, Korea, China, and India, as well as Russia, England, Wales, Ireland, and all of Europe. That was the genesis of Isis. The hieroglyphic name for Isis contains a throne and an egg. She was the mother of the throne. The word Genesis contains the name of Isis. Genesis equals genes of Isis. See the Genes of Isis page on this website. Okay, that's what I read previous this. I need to take a break to look at chat for a second and maybe stretch a little more. This is... Do you understand the Timecube comparison now that people make when I show this to them? We've got 3 people watching on YouTube, 1 on Twitch. Feel free to say hello in chat, and I will respond to most questions I can imagine right now. All I can I do not know what the hell this guy was on when writing this, because it's just that weird. Oh dear. Yeah, I need to stretch for a little bit. It's been about another hour and 15 since my last stretch. So let me Yeah, let's continue with the religion for breakfast video on the cult of Isis while I stretch.
The worship of Isis was established in Greece as early as the 300s BCE. An inscription from Athens mentions Egyptians building a sanctuary for her there, and many priests early on were Egyptian immigrants. And in the following centuries, worship of Isis rapidly spread east Asia Minor and west to Italy. Her temple in Pompeii was built by 80 BCE, and within a few decades, public worship of Isis was established in Rome. Now, as far as historians can tell, the worship of Isis out of Egypt did not start as a mystery cult. She was often worshipped alongside the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis, like at the double temple of Isis built in Rome in an area full of other major religious buildings like the Pantheon. In all likelihood, this temple functioned just like any other Roman temple, without the mystery or initiation aspects. But by the late Hellenistic period, the mysteries of Isis became a popular option. The scholar Jaime Alvar theorizes that initiation became an option as the cult expanded into the Eastern Mediterranean, where they would have encountered Greek initiation practices among the older, more prestigious mysteries, like the mysteries of Eleusis. So what did the mysteries of Isis look like? One of the richest sources of information is a Roman novel by the philosopher Apuleius called Metamorphoses. It's a surprisingly hilarious story about a guy named Lucius who, driven by curiosity about magic, accidentally gets transformed into a donkey. The story follows his misadventures as he desperately tries to return to human form. Finally, at the end of the story, Isis appears to Lucius to save him, and he's initiated into her mysteries. Throughout this chapter in the book, Apuleius vividly describes an initiation, but historians debate to what extent Apuleius is describing it accurately. It is a fictionalized account, after all, and he was a satirist, so maybe he was unfairly mocking the cult, but many view the chapter as a generally trustworthy source for understanding her mysteries. From the Metamorphoses, we get a sense of how the Romans conceptualized Isis. In the story, she appears to Lucius in a dream and declares herself the mother of the universe, the mistress of all the elements, the highest of the powers above, and the queen of the shades below, the manifestation of all the gods and goddesses. This is supreme god language, the sort of language you might see describing the big monotheistic gods of Christianity or Islam, all-knowing, all-powerful, the creator of the universe. Now, that's not a perfect analogy, but as the worship of Isis evolved outside of Egypt, she evolved into a cosmic and savior god. For example, consider this inscription from Temple of Isis at Cyrene in modern-day Libya. I, Isis, am soul.
Ah. Hello, Miss Phoebe. Oh, I know. Am I being annoying? Just a little bit? Okay. I know. Yes, I see your butt. Okay. Oh no, I've lost a couple of viewers during my stretch, but yeah, tell your friends to come rejoin. Feel free to hit like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications, and feel free to hit the Ko-Fi page for, to give me a tip for reading this insane stuff. Hello. Yes, I see you. You're a little kitty, aren't you, Miss Phoebe? Yes, you are. You're my sweet little girl. Such a little kitty. Okay. Hi. Okay, I think it's about 11, so let's see. How much? Oh, wow. This is a bit much. I think I'm going to pick up tomorrow because Phoebe is telling me that it is time for dinner. And I do not like to upset the kitty cats. So yeah, I think I will pick up on from here about tomorrow. If you want to come watch some of that, I'll I'll be reading a bit more tomorrow than I did today. But yeah, by all means, feel free to tell all your friends that I'm reading from this insane spiritual treatise that has been described by friends and online acquaintances as Timecube for pagans. Like if Jean Ray of Timecube was pagan, this gets that weird. So I'm going to wrap up for now. Again, feel free to hit like, subscribe, leave some comments if you're watching this on and if you're watching the archive of this. And by all means, tell your friends, turn on bell notifications so that YouTube will hopefully tell you when I'm starting up again tomorrow and as many days after as I can string together. And got a piece of cashew stuck in my teeth. But yeah, other than that, drink your water, take your meds if you need them, and otherwise take very good care of yourselves and have exactly the kind of day you deserve. Hopefully that's a good one. Bats and kisses, Nosta Achwil, good night, and